For 30 years, Daniel Mercer had served Ridgewood County with unwavering dedication. Rising from rookie deputy to county sheriff, he built a reputation for fairness and integrity that earned him respect across every neighborhood, from the pine forest to the lakeshore estates. "I've watched this county change," he often said, "from sleepy farmland to a retreat for the well-heeled. Million-dollar homes now line lakes once surrounded by simple fishing cabins. But no matter how fancy the houses get, it's good neighbors that make a community." His father, Thomas Mercer, was a self-made man. A builder who, after decades constructing homes for others, had finally broken ground on his own dream: retirement on the peaceful shore of Crystal Ridge Lake. At 72, Thomas poured his savings, skill, and soul into creating a masterpiece of timber and stone, complete with hand-carved details, floor-to-ceiling windows that embraced the lake view, and a staircase finished with what his father had once set aside. It was more than a home. It was the fulfillment of a promise he'd made to Daniel's mother before she passed, that one day they would wake up to that view together. Though she was gone before he completed it, Thomas often said he still felt her presence in every room. "This is what 45 years of hard work looks like," Thomas had told Daniel the day he moved in. 3 months later, Thomas suffered a heart attack. He needed bypass surgery and months of rehabilitation. The night before surgery, Thomas had taken Daniel's hand. "Take care of my house, son. It's my legacy," Daniel promised. But that promise would soon be tested in ways he never imagined. Thomas's home wasn't just beautiful. It stood out. Built with locally sourced stone and timber, it blended naturally with the landscape. Unlike the modern homes around it, clad in glass and chrome, Thomas's house had soul. To some, that made it a point of pride. To Patricia Hardrove, it made a target. Daniel had kept a low profile within the Crystal Ridge Shores HOA. He never attended meetings in uniform, never used his title. He was just Dan Mercer, son of Thomas. Patricia, the HOA president, never bothered to dig deeper. Though she knew the name Mercer, she didn't connect him to the sheriff's office, a mistake born of arrogance. A former executive from Chicago, Patricia had moved to the lake community seeking a fresh start after a corporate scandal. Within months, she secured the presidency of the HOA and began a campaign to restore traditional values. Few knew that Thomas had testified years earlier in a fraud case involving Patricia's husband, a case that led to his imprisonment. Patricia had recognized the Mercer name instantly and, fueled by resentment, set out to dismantle everything Thomas had built. The first HOA citation arrived just weeks after Thomas's surgery, citing unauthorized structural modifications. Specifically, the accessibility ramp Thomas had added. A $500 fine. Despite Daniel's calls and explanations, Patricia remained cold. "Rules don't change because someone gets sick," she said. This isn't personal, but felt deeply personal. And it got worse. Weekly citations followed. Unapproved lighting, improper dock configuration, even unauthorized wildlife encouragement for a bird feeder. Daniel, bound by duty, couldn't intervene officially, but he began documenting everything, filing complaints, consulting with attorneys, and quietly rallying other targeted residents. He was building a case. Before he could finish, the unthinkable happened. One Monday morning, while presenting at a county budget meeting, Daniel received a security alert. His phone buzzed again and again. Patricia had arrived at his father's property with unmarked trucks and unfamiliar contractors. One deputy reported they were pouring liquid around the home's foundation. Minutes later, the fire department called. A blaze was reported at Thomas Mercer's home. When Daniel arrived, the house was engulfed. He stood in uniform, watching the flames consume his father's dream, the air thick with smoke and betrayal. Patricia showed up soon after, clipboard in hand. "I'm here to document the incident," she said, not realizing who she was speaking to. When she finally recognized Daniel in his sheriff's uniform, color drained from her face. "Sheriff Mercer," he said calmly. "I'm Thomas Mercer's son." Patricia stammered. He asked for documentation. For work orders. Insurance. Anything. But she had nothing. Only excuses. Deputies soon detained the so-called contractors. One quickly confessed, They'd been paid in cash to make it look like an accident. The investigation unearthed it all. Patricia's withdrawals, the emails, the timeline she'd created. A list titled, "Those Who Will Pay," with Thomas Mercer at the top. The house wasn't destroyed by chance. It was the end game of a vendetta years in the making. Patricia was arrested, charged with conspiracy, arson, fraud, and more. Her confident facade crumbled in court. She pled not guilty, but the evidence was overwhelming. The trial exposed more corruption, misuse of HOA funds, intimidation of residents, and a scheme to acquire properties at cut-rate prices through manufactured code violations. Thomas, though weakened, testified in his wheelchair. That house wasn't about money, he said. It was about meaning, about love, and about legacy. The jury deliberated less than 3 hours. Patricia was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to 18 years. But justice didn't end in the courtroom. The HOA was overhauled. New leadership, new bylaws, transparency, appeals processes. Daniel's office launched a mediation program to handle disputes before they escalated. The state passed the Homeowner Protection Act, informally known as Mercer's Law, requiring accommodations for homeowners facing medical hardship. And then they rebuilt. Neighbors came together. Craftsmen donated time. Former board members admitted their fears and joined cleanup efforts. 6 months after the fire, Thomas visited the site. Only the stone chimney remained. He looked at the empty space, then smiled. "We'll build it again," he said. "Better." They didn't take the dream. That's fireproof. Today, the new house stands stronger than ever, with added spaces for family, for legacy, and for love. The lake shimmers outside the windows, just as it always had in Thomas's vision. And the community? It remembers, not just the fire, but the rebuilding, the unity, the justice. Daniel, no longer just the sheriff, but the son of the man who reminded them what really matters, often says, "Sometimes you lose something to remember what's worth protecting." My father lost a house, but we all gained something far greater. A dream rebuilt, a legacy preserved, and a community made whole again.